my papa's son wandering out a smoking gun. Now some of you would live through me and lock me up and throw away the key.
All right, we're live. We're live with Curt Schilling, soon to be Hall of Famer next year. Next year when you have the stage to yourself. I picture you like me, Schill. That we're all sheltering in place. We're all hunkered down. It's day 7 or 8 of this worldwide pandemic of our world being turned upside down. I think you're probably pretty good at this because, you're like me. I got no friends. I'm not going to any parties. I wasn't, planning on going to bars or going to spring break or anything. I'm hunkered down and I'm okay with it. I haven't found it that onerous just yet. You?
Well, I got to tell you, I think I started self-quarantining about 1.5 years ago. Being retired, Monday is kind of like Saturday for me. Life is not different for me in the other than, I'm practicing, all the things you're supposed. I'm trying to limit. I have a lot of the pre-existing conditions, and so as my wife does and my father-in-law does, so we're trying to limit exposure to, going to the grocery store and almost nothing else.
It's strange. I've never, washed my hands after I went to the bathroom before. You gotta make some adjustments. And these,
Well, I find it strange. I'm washing my hands in my house like every couple hours. Like I haven't gone anywhere.
I know, and I'm doing it too. And I guess it's something,
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
it matters. I'm in. Here's my take on this. Tell me if you agree. We were all wrong at some point. Nobody thought it was going to get to this point, a month ago. I mean, some people were more wrong than others, and some people were more cavalier. Others were more alarmist, but we were all wrong at some point because nobody expected this.
Well, I got to tell you, I didn't get surprised by this. I didn't. Because I don't know. As someone who I'm an avid history buff, and so this is not unique. In this, I mean, go back to the time of the pharaohs in Egypt, and this stuff has been happening forever. And there was a CDC report written in 2016, I believe it was, that I read a couple months ago. They predicted, a scientist at the CDC predicted this specific virus, would break out in China within the next 5 years. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that bats carried it, and that bats are something that the Asian culture eats, along with others, but along with a lot of other things.
Right.
And so, so they predicted this. It was a matter of, when, not if, and.
But think of how much easier it is now compared to when the pharaohs were or even 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Now they let in. I thought the number of people who left China on an airplane after the outbreak is in the millions. I mean, it's like 5 million. There were like thousands of people coming into Los Angeles before Trump put an end to it a day from China. So, I mean, in the old days, we wouldn't even know about it. It'd wipe out millions of Chinese and maybe Japanese or, Mongolians, but it wouldn't have touched our shores yet. It's just such a, mobile
have you seen
universe.
Have you seen Contagion?
I have not. I should.
Okay.
Though, huh?
I watched it last night, which probably wasn't the right time to be watching it. But if you just watch it and watch, they do a couple sequences of transference, how the disease got transferred, and you understand how and why the Chinese government is absolutely lying its ass off, number one. And I think we are seeing the tip of the iceberg from a numbers perspective. My biggest fear has been the African continent, getting down there into a place that it truly is third world, doesn't have local medicine and all. I mean, it can potentially kill millions. But at the same time, we're talking about something that if you're under 40 and you have no pre-existing conditions, this is the flu.
Which is one of the problems. I mean, you have you have 4 kids in their 20s, correct? You have I have a couple, and they have to understand it's not about them, and that's a hard lesson and they think everything's about them, right? At that age,
right.
We saw the video from those idiots at spring break down in Florida, and they just say, it's, I feel fine if I get it, no big deal. You know what? They're right. If they get it, it's no big deal to them. But if they're, when you leave spring break and go back to wherever, go back to Cleveland or Massachusetts, you might visit, Grammy and Grandpa, right? And
clearly,
you might kill them.
Yeah, they're not. None of them are asking that question, which is, how would I feel if I was the reason my father died, or how would I feel if I was the reason that my sickly sibling died? And it's a selfish generation doing selfish things. And
I think that's the lesson, or that's the message Trump and everybody, Fauci, the whole, people we're listening to every day should say it. You'll be fine. Most likely, 99.9% chance you'll be fine. But if you bring that home and you bring it to your parents or your sick, whatever, your grandparents, you're going to kill them. And I mean, that's the ultimate act of selfishness. Well, you want to party, party. So you put your grandparents in jeopardy. It's insane. I mean, the fact is they will be fine. They, most people get it. A lot of people get it and don't even know they've got it. A lot of people get it, just, take a couple days off. They're fine. But as you know, if you're looking at the numbers, the people dying are in nursing homes.
Look at it. Italy is just mind-boggling and terrifying, I think. With the significantly older population, the mortality rates are through the roof.
Right, but the average age is almost 80. I believe the average age of deceased is 79.5. Right. But they're dying in by the hundreds now.
Yep. And it's and I would love to hear Trump say those things if he would stop being asked, if calling it the Chinese virus is racist. That whole thing is that I can't even watch them anymore.
Well, I was going to get to that with you, because I mean, you watch this very closely like I do, and I know we're like-minded in this way. But Trump again has one thing going for him: it's his enemies. His enemies, his enemies do him so much good. They benefit him so much, whether it was through the Russian collusion to Ukraine to you name it. And now his enemies are the Chinese Communist Party and the left-wing mainstream media, neither of whom are very popular with the average American. And every time they ask about his terminology, calling it the Chinese coronavirus or the Wuhan virus, every time they do that, I think his approval ratings go up a notch.
Well,
they're saying, echoing the same thing the Chinese are saying.
Right.
If you're doing that, you're not on the right side.
Well, I've said this before to you. It's insulting that they think we're as stupid as they are. It really is. and to see them get time in the White House press room and piss it away asking dumbass questions that none of us want to know the answer to. I don't know the last time I've seen a White House press briefing where anybody in the audience has asked a question that the American people actually want asked. And this is what, I look at what they do sitting in the White House as an insane privilege, and that they've abused it to the extent that they have is why we are where we are now.
Well, the first question, what was it, 3 days ago? The first question was, don't you think you're whatever racist or insensitive, and you're going by calling it the China, using the term China or Chinese, and he handled it beautifully. Yeah. I will say this though, he didn't handle it beautifully today when he was asked by the NBC guy. Let's be honest. He's ready to fight with these people every day. He's got to pick his spots better than this. The guy asked. Well, I mean, the guy obviously he doesn't like Trump. Obviously, wants Trump to look bad. But when you say people are scared, what do you have to say to those scared people? That's a layup. You should just say, reassure them. That's your job. Instead, he says you're a terrible reporter, and I mean, that was not his finest moment.
No, that was Pete Alexander, and if you look at the history there, Pete hates him obviously, and so you and I look at that from here and say, a polished politician should have said all of the things that we think he should have said. He's not a polished politician.
No,
he was in his mind, he's looking at a guy who he thinks is a douche. And the guy asks him a question, and he's like, he's been waiting for a chance to tell this guy he's an idiot. And yeah, he missed the opportunity, I get it, but I'm not more fearful of the coronavirus after the press conference than the liberals. I mean, the liberals are, every press conference is a chance to ramp up the panic.
Right. And to me, they're not picking their spots. When you make a big deal out of the word Chinese coronavirus, when they've used it themselves. Jim Acosta called them racist, and then people immediately find all the references that Jim Acosta made to the Chinese coronavirus. That's how you know they've lost their mind.
It's also the same group of people who he was 2 weeks ahead of the rest of the world, shutting our borders down with travelers from China, and he was called a xenophobe and racist for doing so. And 2 weeks later, the very same people, not the same group, the same specific people said he was slow in acting. Like
it's not. It doesn't look good, and I know the world is changing fast. But if he ends up, going against Biden in the summer, Biden's, called him a xenophobe and a racist and said it was premature. And Biden also said China wasn't a threat. China is not our enemy.
Right.
I mean, they are going to bludgeon Biden with that. And
first of all,
again, this is Trump's. This is playing right into Trump's strength because he's been warning about China long before he was president. He was warning about China and classifying them as an enemy. And the idea that calling it the Chinese coronavirus is racist means that you're crying wolf. I mean, you are crying wolf, and people are not listening to you anymore because they know how silly that is. They know how crazy it is to think it's racist when every reference, every disease is named after a place.
Let's be clear. If Biden and Trump ever get on the debate stage, and I listen, let me preface this by saying this. I do believe, and I'm not happy. I feel bad. Joe Biden is in the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia or both. I don't doubt that for a second. I've been around it before, and anybody that's been around it is seeing that. Right. And you've seen what he has a very quick fuse now, which is one of the telltale signs. If they get on a debate stage, Joe Biden will walk across the stage and take a swing, because Trump will absolutely. I'm almost fearful of Trump looking like he's picking on an elderly person.
That's a good point, right? Like with last time, you were fearful that he would be picking on a woman, and he heard a lot of that. But you're right. In all seriousness, I've said it for weeks or months now that this is a man in the throes of dementia. And the one thing I know, and I've been around it, you're right. That's a symptom, the short temper. The other thing I know for a fact is it doesn't get better. It's not like 3, 4, 6 months from now he's going to be more lucid. It's going to get worse, and we're all going to be witnessing it. And his family will be the ones to blame. His wife, who literally takes him by the arm around to make sure he's where he's supposed to be. Or maybe that was his sister. I get his wife and sister confused, just like he does. Well, but when you think about it, they put him out there, and they know he's not up for this job. Right. I mean, if he were running for mayor of South Bend, you'd say he's not up for it. He can't be president. As Joe Rogan said, he can't be president.
We have a guy who is working literally 20 hours a day in the White House, and he is, he's indefatigable. Yes. And now you turn around and you end up getting a guy who probably can't work 4 hours a day. My point is this: I've always, up until President Trump, I've always I've cast my vote based on the people that have surrounded the person I'm voting for. Because you don't make decisions in a silo. You make decisions based on the geniuses or the smart mind you put around you, which is why I think Obama's administration was such a failure for so long, and now we're finding out why. If Joe Biden were to run for president, you would have to be voting for the 6 to 8 people. It would be the most important VP pick in history of presidential politics.
Right, it will be.
And he's already committed to picking a woman, not the best candidate.
Right.
He's going to pick a woman.
Yes, and imagine how much money Hunter will make though if Dad gets in the White House.
Oh my God! Well, I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop.
This is what they needed. I'm not saying that anybody's happy about the Chinese coronavirus. They're not, but it is the one thing they needed. They needed the economy. They needed a crash.
Well, they were rooting for it. I mean, Bill Maher said he wants a recession. Like he said it. We're not paraphrasing. They said it, and they are. Excuse me.
You can see the joy.
Yes, and you can see it daily right now as they talk about Trump's failures, although they can't point to anything specific. One of the things that I'm watching, you saw this the other day, and I called her out on Twitter the second I saw her tweet. The young lady who said that someone in the Trump administration said Kung flu to her.
Kung flu. Yes.
Right. I called her a liar and said, to me, this was the Adam Jones thing all over again. I'm not denying people aren't saying those things. It didn't happen to you, though. because your hatred of the administration is so thick that you would have wasted no time outing the person that told you or said that to you. Much like
and let's be honest, if you're an average American, you hear somebody in the White House, not Trump, just some low-level bureaucrat said Kung Flu, you'd say, so what? It's just a dumb wisecrack.
Right.
I mean, people say things like that all the time. It wasn't.
Well, that's a news cycle for them. That's a news cycle. They have nothing else to. They have to fill the news cycle with as much crap as they can, because then if they don't, you hear Ilhan Omar talking about what an amazing job he's done. And they sure as hell don't want to hear that stuff.
That was unbelievable. Now, so far, if you're keeping track, Andrew Cuomo, who's been very good here. Every time I see him do a press conference, I think if I were a Democrat, I'd be asking, why isn't that guy? Right. Why isn't he running for president against Trump? Why do I have Biden and not Cuomo? But Cuomo, Gavin Newsom, Ilhan Omar.
It makes me think they're setting him up. It's one of those things like there has to be a strategic reason that they've gone to the polar opposite.
But here's what I've been saying all along, and it's never been more true, is if you don't listen to what he says or tweets and you just judge him on what he does, you really can't have a lot of complaints. I mean, they were talking about not having enough tests available. I think we do now. He closed the border, and by all accounts, that made a huge difference. He warned us about China, and he will continue to do so. It's a whole new world now.
Right.
And I think he's well. I think what he's doing now is right in his wheelhouse. He
is the perfect candidate for social media these days, because if you want to take him literally, you have a story. If you want to take him figuratively, and they flip flop how they do that. You know what I'm saying? Or, excuse me, the more important thing to me is the reporting the news and lying by omission or lying by addition, or what, apparently Jake Tapper and Jim Acosta and Fredo and all these other people seem to think that they know what he means. Well, he said this, but what he really means. Right. And it's like, they're acting like they're in the mind of a racist when it takes a mind of a racist to think like that.
Yeah, and then, you know what? Again, they're doing him a favor every time you see them, and they're just off the rails. Don Lemon and
my God.
Tap. I mean, they're off the rails, and to the point. And you said it, that right now they're pissed because Ilhan Omar is saying something nice about the president, and Gavin Newsom, two of the biggest radicals. And we still, I mean, pretty soon Liz Warren's going to say something nice about him. Then it's over. Then it's over.
Yeah, no, the world changes. The world falls off the cliff if that happens.
Right. Although, she might end up being the most important vice presidential candidate ever.
My God.
You don't know. She has not. I thought she might endorse Bernie because they're, kindred spirits, but she hasn't, and there's a reason for that. It's because she's still holding out hope that Biden will. And
Biden will not pick a woman who will overshadow him on the ticket. So, in my mind, Liz Warren's out.
Although she's a fighter, and say what you want about her, she fights dirty.
You can see something. I don't know, but yeah.
I heard you say this, and I couldn't agree more. There's two things that I'd like to see happen just to push these people over the edge. Have Trump just hint that we might postpone the election. It's under consideration. November's a little too soon. We're thinking maybe push it back, I don't know, a year or two. And then you said this first. Then have Donald Trump Jr. send out a tweet and announce his candidacy for 2024.
Yeah, that's going to happen. He's going to, at some point in the next 4 years, he's going to tweet out something to the effect of, I'm trying to get to feel the temperature of the public. What do you guys think about me running in 2024?
And by the way, he's a better tweeter and debater than his father.
Yeah.
And I think Melania is a wonderful first lady. Kimberly Guilfoyle would be even better.
Oh yeah. No, it's already setting itself up that way, and that's wonderful.
Just for the fun of it. It is amazing though when you see like Colbert or Jimmy Kimmel. They're doing their shows from home. What pusses? They can't even go in the office. I mean, anyway, they do their shows from home, and all they do is say, Trump's a racist. He said China virus. And I'm saying, that is all you got, man.
Right.
I guess the writers, they gave them the time off or something, because that is just so weak.
Well, but they gave the Russian conspiracy thing 3 years worth of legs with nothing.
Right. That's a good point.
And they never had but the fact that they carried the water for foreign nations over that 3 years, for Russia basically over that 3 years, and really sowed the seeds of dissent that Russia was hoping they were going to sow anyway.
Right.
They don't. I honestly believe they no longer matter. CNN's ratings. Nobody's in the airport, so nobody's watching CNN.
That's a good point. Good point.
But
but their ratings are terrible anyway. If you ever look at the nightly,
I know it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Fox
but
dominates, and then there's a few MSNBCs. Rachel Maddow's in there.
But I look at Gerry. I look at him like I look at you, and I think you and I are much more representative of conservative. I mean, you're probably a little farther right than I am, but the fact of the matter is, excuse me, you and I think for the most part represent the normal conservative. Right. I have 1 year of junior college, but I would stand on stage and debate Elizabeth Warren in a freaking heartbeat. The fact is,
you would
we're informed.
Right. Well, that's to me the difference and that's again, it's an old story, but why there's not a lot of successful liberal talk show hosts, because you got to be informed and you got to be able to back up your
emotion. Emotion will only carry you so far.
Right. Precisely. Emotion, passion. Doesn't
George Carlin.
You can't do that 4 hours a day, right?
No, George Carlin's career was amazing because he was incredibly emotional.
Yes,
but his comedy was fact based.
Right.
And the thing, the truths he said 30 years ago that are true today show you how forward thinking and brilliant the man was.
He was brilliant, off the charts.
Oh my God,
yeah, he could have done anything. But I think of him more as a libertarian anyway. He just didn't
Dennis
trust
Miller.
Anybody.
I did Dennis Miller's show the other day. Oh my God, I love the guy and his humor. Liberals don't think he's funny because they're not smart enough to get any of his humor. Right. I mean, and here's a guy who, I mean, he was fun. Everybody loved him. He was a great actor, but I mean, Hollywood has followed the media down the cesspool drain. I mean, this is unbelievable.
I love guys like Dennis Miller anyway, guys who see the light. David Horowitz is one of these guys who were liberals, and they at one point, they woke up and said, well, Greg Gutfeld, and they're the most thoughtful people because they've done their reading and done their soul searching and seen the light.
Hey,
and they don't just operate on emotion anymore.
When you and I guarantee we both have the same visceral reaction when if you watch The Five and see Greg Gutfeld and all of the brains on that show, and then Juan Williams. And it's like, I keep thinking of the old Sesame Street. Which one of these things is not like the other?
Do you ever feel bad for him? Because I do sometimes.
You know what?
He's just so overmatched. And he's just a lamb to slaughter.
I feel embarrassed for him.
Yeah. Maybe that's more accurate.
Yeah, I feel embarrassed for him because he will. He does what we think liberals do, right? They ask him a question about, the temperature in Antarctica, and he turns it around to, well, Trump's climate change policy is the only reason that it's like, Juan, really? Just shut up.
Yeah, I like what Norm Macdonald tweeted during the last Democrat debate. They started on climate change, and he said, sorry, fellas, no one gives a shit about climate change anymore. Not right now, when we're all hunkered down, worried about this virus. No one's worried about what Greta Thunberg has to say today. But I'm with you on the watching The Five. I'm hooked. I'm obviously trapped inside and watching it every day. And he gets paid to get beaten up. He's like Jussie Smollett. Right. He gets paid.
I really think him and Donna Brazile, I think they hired them to keep them out there to make people understand how far the idiocy meter goes to the left. Like Donna Brazile, after her first piece on Fox, it was like, okay, this is somebody somewhere is foisting a joke on her, and she's the last one to know about it.
Right. And she's talking about, the election being rigged. And I'm going, wait, you're the one that rigged the last one. Right. I mean, I guess she's an authority on it. We know what you did last time. I'm not sure you have a lot of credibility.
It's like Vegas trying to get the gamblers and hackers to come work for them.
Hey, what do you think happens now? I mean, obviously Trump puts a happy face on it. I mean, if you know him, that he's going to try to be optimistic every day. That, the reporter, Alexander, he sort of had a point, even though he's a smarmy little.
No, he did have a point. He had a point. Good. It was a great question. If I'm Trump, I'm praying somebody asked me that question.
That's a good point. He could have flipped it around and just said, I'm here to reassure you. But even Fauci kind of refuted his or should I say, kind of blunted his optimism. It said Fauci's been saying for 2 weeks now it's going to get worse, and it is. But I mean, I do think, like you do. I mean, you inherently feel confident in this country and its people and its leaders, and I mean, not Richard Burr or Dianne Feinstein. If what's alleged is true, they are the lowest of the low, and they will be the new villains in this country. But you feel
let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that, and because I had the same initial reaction you did, but I guess my question is, if I'm in the government and I own stocks and I hear and understand there's going to be a national crisis, and the price of the worth of my portfolio is going to go through the floor, like, what am I supposed to do?
You're supposed to be open with the public, with the people.
Okay, right. So you're upset like I am. It should have been made public.
They should have given us the same chance they had.
Right.
Bail.
Yeah,
I mean,
but if they had done that, they wouldn't have made the money. Right.
But you know what? You're right. And here's what's going to happen now. They're going to lie about it, and the lie will make it worse. If what they said is true, and Tucker Carlson's already calling for them to be thrown out of the Senate. But if what is alleged is true, and if you missed it, Richard Burr, Dianne Feinstein, a few other senators are accused of, in a private meeting, finding out just how bad this was going to get and immediately selling their stocks and
multiple
avoiding
corporations and
hotels and airlines and everything else. And
Feinstein, the one with the Chinese spy as a driver?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And the other one, Kelly's, her husband's like at the head of the New York Stock Exchange. She's got lots of inside info. And if what they alleged is true, they will become the face of evil in this country, because everybody is losing money. Everybody. I mean, we know certainly that people working, waitresses, and they're losing money. And then people with 401ks, which is a lot of the country, mutual funds, they're losing their shirts. And these weasels, if they manage to make money or just not lose money, there won't be enough. I mean, they will be despised by 300 million people. There'll be nothing partisan. Everybody will hate them.
That's
like
the
never
swamp.
Hated before.
That's the swamp that Trump's trying to clean up. And when you asked me a question about what next, and I've been playing this game for a couple years now, and thinking about what's next from 2020. I believe we may see Trump get more votes than people are alive on the good side.
The numbers he's getting unopposed are unbelievable.
He's outdrawing all of the Democratic candidates combined in California, and I mean, it's hilarious, but it's awesome and all the things. But so I tried to play out my biggest question, playing the big picture out, is what happens after 2024. I mean, that's the unknown, and because nothing you've seen, nothing you've heard, nothing you've watched has shown you that anybody is interested in de-escalating this, except the president. Okay, right. So bringing that back onto a micro level, we're in a situation that we have never ever been in our lifetimes. Nothing even close to this, and I'm not talking about the panic and the deaths. I'm talking about the panic, right? And we live in a culture that thinks in 24-hour cycles. No one looks ahead. That's why everybody in this country lives paycheck to paycheck, because they want to be keeping up with the Joneses. Right?
I'm of the belief, though, that this can't go on forever. Cuomo said today that he said expect you might have to stay indoors for 4 months. 4 months,
right?
At which point your 401k will be gone completely. Everyone will be laid. Everyone will be laid off. The jobless rate will be over 50%.
Look what's
that
happened.
Can't happen.
I know, but look what's happened in 7 days. Look at the panic and the rate, and the numbers aren't going down. China just said they reported 0 cases, which they're lying. I believe there's tens of millions, and the African continent same way. But play this out, like again. I mean, it's not the same from a contagion perspective, but the movie that I watched last night, you start talking about breakdowns in civil society and civil services and all the things. We're I don't know why, but we're starting to see the military moved into some neighborhoods and closing down some places. And now I believe it's 40 million people live in California. Yep. California has been ordered to that's my Rottweiler Jack. Sorry. Hey guys, can you get Jax out of my office? Jax, get the hell out of here.
What do you got these days? 5 dogs or
yeah,
4?
I do have 5.
5 dogs,
But
4 kids.
How do you quarantine? And this is not a suggestion. Gavin Newsom made it clear that this is now law. You have to stay in your house. How do you do that for 40 million people? And all you need is one idiotic, Brevard County like sheriff to want to win an election somehow to make a name for himself, where something gets out of hand.
Start arresting homeless people for being outside.
Or hey, listen, I don't doubt. One of the questions we got to, and it's another conversation, is what about the homeless? I've heard the left say nothing about the homeless in all this. But I guess what I'm asking is, what's to stop? Well, let me back up again. I find it absolutely stunning that cities like Philadelphia and New York and LA are commuting small crimes. You can commit these.
And letting people out of prison. My Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley, Ringo, is telling people she wants to commute sentences for prisoners people in prison, criminals in prison. Forget looking the other way at petty crimes. Here's the reality, Curt. And what someone else had this line, but right now in Philadelphia, it's illegal to open a bar. If you own a bar or restaurant, it's illegal to open. But it's not illegal to break into the place and steal everything. That's okay. But opening it and trying to serve food or serve booze to people, that's against the law. So it is a little nuts, but there hasn't been looting yet.
Well, again, 7 days. You're talking about 4 months. That's 120 days.
But that destroys the economy completely. See, I think. Well, then I still think there's an overreaction in this regard. See if you agree. Like, I understand where you have to close places where people are on top of each other, touching each other. But like, I still maintain that they could have played the Masters. Nobody touches anybody in golf. Maybe you don't have any fans, but you could still play a golf tournament. You could still leave open, like a store, like a clothing store, or a sporting goods store. There's no big crowds.
It's just the same for me. Nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to be the governor who didn't follow protocol and got somebody sick, which is where it pushed that whole thought process to the other end of this. At the end of this, nobody's going to want to be the first person to lift their restrictions. Because
that's the problem. No, everyone wants to be the overreactor now because it's safer. It's safer.
Well,
but when you think about it, if 4 months later, the economy is completely destroyed, it's a Great Depression, and we'll say, maybe people could have gone outside their houses if they didn't have, touch people, if they stayed 6 feet away. You could go to a Dick's Sporting Goods and stay 6 feet away from everybody, couldn't you?
Right.
So
I don't. I mean, I've heard people say this, and I, for the most part, believe this. It's always good to look back and say, well, we overreacted. However, again, we're not talking about something that you can measure against the past. This has never had. This is unprecedented. And I look at, how we always talk about, anytime you give the government the ability, like as a player rep in the collective bargaining agreement with the owners, you never wanted to give them something, because if you gave them something, you were never getting it back, and they were going to want more. The government, same way. You give them power, they're not going to give it back. They're going to try and take more. These restrictions are going to get more and more strict.
Right.
And they're not. And so do you see anybody saying, you know what, guys, take a breath, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's start.
I see it on Twitter from a few, libertarians and concerned, and you know what? They get killed. If I were to tweet out right now, in fact, I tweeted out just a story that says 99% of the deaths from the Chinese coronavirus are people with pre-existing conditions. Even it's almost all old people, right? It's almost old people in their 70s and 80s, but the young people in the 50s and 60s who've died had diabetes or heart disease. So all I do is tweet out the story, and people just came after me on Twitter. No big deal, but it was like, you're not taking this seriously. You're trying to, I mean, you can't even show balance right now. Everybody must overreact, and there is that fear that if you don't, you'll be that guy. You'll be that person that, let people die. Those idiots down in Florida, the spring breakers, when you think about it, they're just dumb, 21-year-olds, but they became, the villains. Everybody, including me, was killing them but they were like just dumb kids. They didn't really think about the consequences. That's what you do when you're 20 or 19. But
right. But again, we said it earlier. Somebody's going to go home and be the reason someone in their family dies, and then the scorecard changes.
It's all changed. It's all changed anyway. You'll see no more of that. I mean, you'll still see occasionally a story about people, congregating somewhere, not really having a big party, and you'll say those people, they're going to kill us all. So they will be ostracized.
You're going to find out, a lot of people believe that money moves mountains and that money is behind everything that we do as a country, as a nation, as capitalist driven. I'm very curious to see where the pressure, because I think that's where the pressure is going to come from. The NBA owners, the Major League Baseball owners, these are some of the richest people on the planet, billionaires, all of them, owners in NFL, college football, billions and billions and billions of dollars. I believe that they're going to be the group of people that tries to say, okay, have we gone far enough?
That's a good point. And, you see it already. Mark Cuban's out there front center every day. The Bruins, by the way, Boston Bruins, the only team, I believe, in the NHL who has not agreed to kick in $1 million to take care of their people, but they've been shamed. They will. Everybody will. It's not an act of goodwill anymore. It's an act of just covering your ass. That's the way it's going to be. Right. But speaking of which, I wanted to get a little baseball talk from you. Yeah. Before you go back to your busy life there. It is amazing. And you sit there and you think of, what do I have to do today? Hey, go, wait a second, I can't do anything today.
My 17-year-old son last night comes into my office. He's like, damn, this is pretty cool. I can just do stuff. Whenever I said, welcome to my world.
It is. And you sit there and go, maybe we'll go, oh, wait a second. We can't go out to eat. We can't go to the movies. We can't go to the mall. We can't do anything. I mean, Cuomo was saying you can't exercise with another person. And I'm thinking, so like if you're going to go for a run with your wife, you can't do that? No, he says, no, it's solo. You go for a run, you go for a hike, but you don't go with someone else. I'm like, man,
I've honestly thought about just getting an RV and renting one, getting out and go away for a month.
My wife wants to do that. I'm telling her you can't. She wanted to fly to Florida. She's like, I'll just.
Oh no, yeah.
But yeah, you can't go anywhere. It's a weird thing. And somebody said in 3 months there's going to be a record number of two things: divorces and pregnancies. In some cases, it'll be both. It'll be both. But it is. It's oddly stressful. You think it should be relaxing. You're supposed to play a board game or read a book, watch Netflix, and you're saying, why is it so stressful? It's just because you don't have freedom.
Yeah, but you know what? I look at with the internet these days. I look at this as the perfect time to get something done in your life you didn't have time for. Learning another language, reading a book you didn't. You know what I'm saying? And
playing guitar,
whatever. I mean, it's because you're not going to be able to do anything else. So find something you've always wanted to do that you couldn't do because work and school and the kids and that all stuff's gone.
Except the problem I have, and you do too, is I'm a news junkie and I'm sitting there I'm watching the news and I'm following it on Twitter, online. And I'm saying, I got to stop, just turn off from this, but I can't because every day I want the latest from Italy. I want the latest.
That was the only reason. That was the only reason I wasn't going camping. I didn't want to come back to like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, you see that Jared Leto, that weirdo, the actor? He went for a 12-day meditation retreat in the desert. I think with his wife or with someone else, and they didn't bring any phones or anything. Just went in the desert and meditated. Yeah, and then came out 12 days later, and the world had changed.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. I believe the actor is exactly what the person is. I think he's a nut job.
Yes, he is. But anyway, a couple days ago now, 3 or 4 days ago, Tom Brady signs with Tampa as predicted on the Callahan podcast in January, but signs with Tampa.
Did you call that in January?
Yeah, well, I was told that in January.
Really? Interesting.
By someone who's close to Brady. And I mean, didn't buy in completely because it didn't seem like the perfect spot, but you know what? He didn't care. I give him credit in this regard. It was a football decision. Everyone placed some weight, I
thought San Diego.
Everyone or LA, everyone thought LA, Vegas, Miami, even San Francisco. These are glamour places, good cities. To him, I think in the end, the city didn't matter. He met with Derek Jeter, and Jeter assured him that, he could live in his neighborhood and probably send his kids to good private schools, but the city was secondary. He wanted to be there for football reasons. And clearly, he likes the people around him, the weapons, the coach, the receivers.
I mean, Jameis Winston passed for 5,000 yards in that offense last year. Are you kidding me?
If he could do the 5,000 yards and the 33 touchdowns without the 30 picks, I mean, they're going to go, 12-4 and have a chance. Although he's got to go, it's a tough schedule. He's got to go against Breeze in New Orleans twice. It's a tougher division than he's used to.
Yeah.
He won 17 division titles.
He did.
Everything he's done is remarkable. But
it is, and I honestly believe New Englanders appreciated it. That, like, they're not sitting here going, "Wow, we didn't know what we had." And we had. They've always been, I think, incredibly appreciative in recognizing the fact that since 2001, this has been the city of champions.
Right, and he's the greatest NFL player ever.
Yeah.
He's the greatest Boston athlete ever. I mean, he's got.
Well, now, hey, you used to spend hours on the radio talking about this. We're going to find out: is it Belichick's offense or Brady's talent?
See, that's why I'm okay with it. I understand some Patriot fans are upset, but isn't this more dramatic? Isn't this better theater? Isn't that what we want?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're going to find out a lot. See, I think Belichick was ready to move on because he doesn't think, a 43-year-old quarterback, even the greatest one ever, he looks at that number and says he's going to break down. He's going to be
next man up.
Yeah, and and Belichick's been right about almost everybody, and I think there's a chance he's right about this. Maybe Brady has one decent year, but that would be it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. I mean, he's freaking your age now, for crying out loud. Do you think you could go out and do it?
I couldn't go out in my front yard and throw a Nerf football. So,
no. But Brady leaving was I just came to this conclusion that Brady leaving was the first good day the Boston Red Sox have had in this entire offseason. The first day where John Henry said, "Finally, I got a break. Brady's out of our hair." And then the next day, Chris Sale needs Tommy John. Now, you never had Tommy John, correct?
Never.
You just had that little fake thing on your ankle. I remember that. But you never had right. But do you look at a guy like that and say he should have had it sooner, or do you think this is a good thing? It's a lost season. He'll be back better than ever.
So I mentioned to you last night, I don't know what the date was when this initial thing came out. I know it was months and months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I said that day on Twitter, this will end in Tommy John. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, maybe it will end in Tommy John. There's just no question based on his pain, what he was talking. Generally, two things happen to your elbow. You either have trouble with the UCL or you get bone chips. And bone chips I had those, and those are, you get them fixed, and 6 weeks later you're fine. This is for those innings and his style. It's totally not surprising.
It's remarkable, and maybe it doesn't surprise you. It surprised me. Like, he didn't go for an evaluation. They just said, "Well, it hurts. We have nowhere else to go." They knew that if it continued to hurt him, they were going to need Tommy. So he didn't really go for another.
That's not true. That's untrue. I guarantee you he did. And they found out and knew some things they didn't want to share with the public. They're, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about a multi-$100-million contract.
Yeah.
He was evaluated and they didn't like what they saw. So they said, "Listen, we'll just rest it." Dr. Andrews gave them an out. And then, the platelet stuff was next, which again, that's great. It's not going to work, but that's great. So I think they wasted 6 months.
Is it 1 year now in your mind, or more than
well, no, it's not a year. I think in my opinion, it's 12 to 18 months, depending on the person. Everybody's different. And he's a workaholic, so rehab won't be a problem, but you can work your way through this as hard as you want. Your body just has to have the right collagen to heal. And I think they wasted half a year on this one. And whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know.
And David Price will probably win the Cy Young in the NL. Mookie will win MVP. It just feels like it's just not their year. I mean, it's amazing. In the span of 36 days, Tom Brady and Mookie Betts both out of here, and really not much to show for either one. It's not like you made some great trade. You just they just both.
Well, the stuff I'm hearing about this Verdugo kid under the radar is not good, and that he was with, I guess it was a domestic violence thing in the minor leagues, and hopefully
it was videotaping a couple of girls beating up another girl,
right?
And no one's pressed him on it. I don't think. He just said it's in the past, but he looks like trouble. He looks like one of those guys.
hopefully he's a kid and he's learning, he's growing up, and hopefully being around David can put some calming influence or whatever. But for a city that has battled the racist stigma for as long as it has, I would have looked to trade anybody but probably one of the best black players in the game. I don't
think Mookie gave him a choice. Mookie
no, I don't either. I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. I think, but again, you know how I feel about the ownership group, and bad things happen to bad people.
And you haven't been called to do any games, right? No games on TV, no games on radio. It is amazing. I know we're friends, and I like you and all, but everybody, even people who don't like you, admit you're a great analyst. You know the game. You certainly know pitching. You got your opinions. You're not afraid to share them. You are a great analyst. They dump you for, we don't have to go over that again, for retweeting some memes, and you're not analyzing anything. Yeah. Except on, your own little world on Twitter or sitting here with me, but no one will touch you because you are,
it's become pretty obvious to me in the last 12 to 18 months that word is around. And, I try to explain, I know why word is around, but I don't understand it. I mean, and I've never even gotten a call back.
This and I'll give people an example of why you would be so good at this. I heard you with Dennis Miller, and you just throw this in there, and Dennis Miller didn't really pick up on it, but you were talking about the Astros and their sign stealing and how they're. And by the way, that's one guy who probably likes this shutdown now is Altuve. Yeah, because just want to get a break from the beanballs. But you were talking about the Astros, and you told the story of the White Sox electronically cheating, stealing signals in the 90s.
90s.
And
Jack McDowell admitted it.
Jack McDowell admitted it. You said they used the center field scoreboard.
Yep. And so I was always, as a starting pitcher, I didn't work a lot. And so I would always be doing different things. I'd be looking at the pitcher, trying to pick up tips. I'd be looking at hitters, and I'd be looking at signs, trying to figure out if people were giving signs, stealing signs, whatnot. And the new park, I don't know why this was something I always did, but I always thought, a team could just use a center field scoreboard and cheat their butts off. And I was checking out the scoreboard in the new Chicago park, and on the bottom left and bottom right of the scoreboard were two lights that had nothing to do with anything, that were literally like alternating on and off, and only when they hit.
So you picked up on this at the time, right? During the game or after the game. And when did McDowell admit they were doing that?
Like 6 months ago, when this all came out about the Astros. He's like, he's like, we cheated. I mean,
and I know the difference is that the Astros won the World Series and the White Sox won nothing, but still, that's Chicago. Yep. That's Major League Baseball, and they're admitting they had a system in place. This system just got the Astros manager fired, the general manager fired, cost the owner $5 million, and it ruined Altuve and Bregman's reputation. It's going to get them hit a lot.
Yeah.
What the White Sox did, they skate, I guess, because it's old, it's ancient history, but they were literally using lights in the scoreboard to signal the hitters. Yeah. And did they have success? Did they have success against you?
No. I knew about it, so we used different signs. We used signs.
And you explained that you would have been dead meat if you had to go against this Astros team with that system in place. They could just eliminate your 2-pitch pitcher. They eliminate one of the 2 pitches. That's it.
They eliminate the ball. I never tried to throw my split for a strike. I threw my split in counts when I knew the hitter was swinging and aggressive, because it looked like a strike. Now, if they get to wipe that one off, all they're looking for is fastball. They just have to guess in or out.
So you never, other than that White Sox team, you were never really a victim of this, were you?
No,
like a real advanced.
No.
Do you?
I don't know.
Here's the next shoot. We know that the Red Sox investigation. It's actually been going on longer than the investigation of the Astros now. Maybe it's on hold because of the virus. Maybe it's coming down any minute. If they're lucky, it'll be this afternoon, Friday afternoon news dump in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. But it cost, we just went over what it cost the Astros. The same guy was in Boston. Do we think that Alex Cora just, dropped that cheating system when he got here, because they won a World Series here as well. And if they use the same or similar system, it's a worse crime because they were warned. They were told, don't do that. And we think they did it anyway. But what do you think is going to happen when they finally?
I don't know. Here's what I do know. I think Alex Cora is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. I loved him as a teammate. I loved him as a guy. I'm a little disappointed in this whole thing because, I mean, this is cheating beyond cheating. This is not, hey, stealing signs from second base. This is, I don't know. This is indefensible, I guess, in many ways. But I do know this. Alex Cora was the best sign stealer I ever played with. Alex, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Did you just assume he was just smart?
Yes. No. I watched him do it. I watched Alex Cora pick up pitchers tipping in the first inning. I watched Alex Cora have the signs from second base while he was sitting on the bench.
Really?
I mean, yes, and it was just amazing to me. He was very intuitive about that stuff, and always good about that stuff. And the only disappointment I ever had with Alex is that after President Trump was proven right about the corruption in Puerto Rico, and he skipped the White House visit, and I was imploring him to go just to get FaceTime with him. Oh, absolutely, just to get FaceTime and talk to the guy.
He should have gone. He should have gone. You can step in front of the cameras and air out your grievances. Anytime you want, you go there, you say.
Well, I told him. I saw it. I was down there for 2 weeks. I saw it firsthand. I knew it was happening, and the president was outing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I saw the same. Those facilities, you saw those people breaking the locks on and the doors coming up, and they were stacked with food and water. I saw that years when it happened. We were watching it, and none of this stuff was going out to the people. And finally, the little sleazy governor guy. I met face to face with him, and I said, hey, listen, they wouldn't let us go out and distribute our supplies. And I said, I'm going on Fox News tomorrow, and if we're not out helping people, then there's going to be a problem.
Did they let you go?
Oh, they let us out. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it was tragic.
You told Alex this. Alex knew, right?
Yes.
He knew there was this kind of corruption.
Yeah. And just one quick story. We were taking supplies out, and we passed by an old people's home, and they were all out the windows waving, and the government representative said, we've already served them. We're taking care of them. And when we came, so they wouldn't let us stop. And on the way back, I got in the lead truck, and I said, pull in here. And we pulled in, and they there were 7 or 8 people that were dead in their rooms. And they told us that they hadn't seen anybody from the government since the storm hit.
Wow. And Trump was proven right. Obviously,
Yeah.
Alex has bigger problems.
Right.
He's blackballed.
Yeah.
He'll be gone for a while. But the Reds, the pandemic, the Red Sox are like lucky.
And let me tell you something. When they were playing spring training games, Gerry, I looked at a box score one day. I didn't recognize anybody.
Oh yeah.
I know Bogarts and Martinez, but I looked at the lineup. I'm like, okay, I don't actually know any of these people.
It's bad. It was bad last year when they were good, or the year before when they won the World Series. The ratings were plummeting. The interest was down. This is going to, I don't know, kill them, but it's certainly going to hurt. And you know what they could do to improve things? They could bring Schilling into the booth and have you do games on the radio. They
could sell the team.
Yeah, that's a good one too. They care more about soccer. I know his wife, Linda Pizzuti, she cares about soccer more anyway. They should sell the team and invest in their little Philly soccer team over in England. But
but that's a dreamy love affair, isn't it?
Oh yeah, those two kids, they were born for each other. You don't hear from anybody. You came back last year, was it, or 2 years ago for an anniversary of whatever?
Yeah.
What was the anniversary of the 04?
Yeah, it was what was it?
15 years.
It was 15 years.
They have every year they have an anniversary, and they've decided to invite you back. Maybe not after this, maybe not after today, but you're not persona non grata over there anymore, are you?
No, I never was. I mean, to the layman, to the fans, and to my teammates, no, I never was. But to the Shaughnessy's of the world, I get. I'm the Antichrist.
You were, and now Aubrey Huff has taken the mantle.
Oh my God,
he doesn't get invited back because I don't know. He believes in the Second Amendment or something, or he's against abortion. I don't know what.
Yeah, well, Aubrey says some things that I look at and go, "Wow, even I wouldn't have said that." So that's
Wow, that's something. All right, I'm going to watch Contagion tonight. What are you watching?
Yes,
what do you?
I don't know. I might watch Outbreak.
See, I don't know if I recommend this. There's a series or season on Amazon Prime of the show called Hunters. They're Nazi hunters, and I like every word.
I heard about that. Yeah,
it's Al Pacino, and
I heard
Al
about that.
Pacino has a really big role. It's a weird show, though. They're Nazi hunters. It's set in the 70s in New York, so the Nazis are still alive and around, and they're tracking them down. But Al Pacino has a big part. He's in it, and he's a big character. But it has the weirdest, dumbest season finale. I'm just going to say, not a great season finale. And Pacino ends up playing a really strange role here. But that's all. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure if I recommend it or not. But hey, if you get really, really bored, Hunters on Amazon Prime. I
got time.
You watch Homeland. Homeland has been good. It's kind of under the radar, but this season's been really good.
Yeah, I was in love with that show for the first 4 seasons. Then it was one of those I just stopped. I got to pick it back up. Same thing with Walking Dead. I'll get a chance to pick up on that one too. But
and you a Ray Donovan guy? Because I
haven't seen that. I've heard it's amazing.
It's over. It's I think 7 seasons. If you want to binge watch something, because I know you're a fan of John Voight. You got to be. I love John Voight. He's so good.
He's awesome
as a patriarch of this mob.
Him and James Woods.
Yes,
I'll watch anything there.
Oh, by the way, they're in it together.
Yeah,
James Woods is in it, and I don't know how many episodes he's in because
their trailers must have been like a mile away from the set.
Watch it from the beginning. You'll get to see James Woods and Mickey Donovan. James Woods and John Voight working together. It's awesome.
Really? What's the one with I know we're getting ready. You got to go. The World War II ended differently, and Germany and Japan. I can't think of the name of it now.
I'll tell you one, that Inglourious Basterds, the Tarantino movie, World War II ends differently.
Yeah,
and that's a fun.
But there's I for the life of me can't remember the name of it. But if you get a chance, that's a pretty freaking scary.
Really?
Like Germany occupies the eastern United States. Japan occupies the west.
1917 yet?
You know what? I was going to watch that last night, and I did not.
That's for I don't know if it's for rent or for sale, but
yeah. Yep.
It is awesome. It's World War I, obviously, and it's in England, but it's so good. It's so
I'm going to watch that one, and
rent that. All the movies that I've seen this year are good, except the one that won Best Picture. The Parasite sucks, but all the other ones.
That's how I know. Anything that Hollywood lauds, I know. Right. I don't like what was the one about water?
Shape of Water was so stupid.
Right. No, I mean but they're trying to be so esoteric and different.
But they nominated some really good movies. Ford versus Ferrari. And,
I heard that was great. Yeah.
And Jojo Rabbit is good. That's another World War II Nazi movie, but it's weird. It's good. I like it. And I love 1917, and Parasite sucks. Skip Parasite. Watch all those other ones because they're good, especially 1917.
Okay.
All right, go back and feed your dog, my friend.
Been too long, buddy. Thank you.
I will talk to you soon. Curt Schilling.